Hello, I'm Jeffrey Hamelman from the King Arthur Flour Company in Vermont, and in this series of video clips I'm going to show you how to fill a cake and enrobe a cake with buttercream. Let's get started. Now we're going to assemble the cake. So I've got my chocolate chiffon that's been divided in thirds, and I'll put the first layer up, which again is the bottom of the cake. And here I have some chocolate buttercream. I'll put a blop on there. Our cakes are made with all real ingredients. We don't use additives or extenders or artificial ingredients, so the cakes are reasonably rich. And our buttercream, we use 100% butter. It's an Italian meringue buttercream, and that's rich too. And I say that because if you're used to cakes where it's a very, very thick layer of cake and a very, very thick layer of cream, you'll be surprised to see that the layers are comparatively thin when I assemble this cake. And the reason, again, is because it is very rich. So I've put the cream on the top, and now the main thing I want to impart with this next step is we don't want to use this palette knife in a way that makes us go over the edge in a curving way. It's very natural to bring your hand down when you reach the edge, but if you do that, you'll have different thicknesses of cream, and the cake won't look as good. So rather than doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to just gently spread the cream to the edge, and you'll notice that I'm trying to keep the palette knife in a very horizontal position without doing that curving bit at the end. And you'll see too that my other hand, in my case my right hand, since I'm a lefty, is turning the turntable while my palette knife hand is drawing it straight through. It seems like a very kind of staccato set of motions, but it's actually rather interconnected and kind of flowing, so that once we've got the initial spreading of the cream, I was demonstrating like this, but in fact it's actually a lot more flowing. So if you're at working speed, you're more or less going like this. And then I'll put on the third layer of cake. At this point, it's pretty important not to overwork this top enrobing layer of cake. So I want to do this reasonably quickly. Generally, but not always, I prefer to a little bit over ice this top portion. So now that I've got the top done, I'll go to the sides and I'll just take whatever extra cream is already there and just start spreading it. And I know I'll need more, so now I'm going to start building out the side. If I'm going to cover the entire side of the cake all the way to the top with some kind of ground nuts or ground crumb or something, then I can just have a very thin masking coat at this point. But if I want to have it a little bit more stylized, or certainly if I'm making a wedding cake or some kind of a celebration cake, I probably do not want to have crumb going all the way up the sides. In that case, I'm going to use a comb, and I'm going to comb the sides. So I'll do that in a moment, but first I want to clean up the top a little bit. And the way I do that is nice light strokes, trying to get it as clean as I can. If I get a little bit too much cream built up on the palette knife, just scrape it off here. And I'm not going to get this totally clean because I want to show you another technique which can not only be attractive, but it can save you a lot of time. And that is to take a serrated knife and kind of hold the turntable against your belly, and then I'm just going to draw it in a kind of oscillating motion, and I just walk it all the way down. It looks kind of pretty, and it also means I don't have to spend a great deal of time having a really cleaned up top portion. If you do want to comb it, typically the decorating comb has 3 different sized teeth. Use the one that seems the most appropriate. So I'm going to have the comb at this kind of an angle, and the cake is going to be moving in this direction. So in other words, I don't want the comb perpendicular to the cake, and I certainly don't want it like this if I'm moving the cake like that. So I've got the comb in this angle, and I just gently press it against the side, go around a couple times, and then just kind of feather it off. It's reasonably clean. I've got some areas at the bottom that didn't get combed, but that's okay because I'm going to put a little bit of a crumb border on the bottom of the cake. So we're going to call this all right. When I'm building a number of cakes, I know when I go back to my buttercream that I've got some areas up here where I had taken cream off the preceding cake and put it up here. It's a good idea for your subsequent cakes to start by using up that portion of the cream because there might be a couple of crumbs in there. And if I use this on my first layer of cake, the crumbs won't matter because they're going to be buried. But if I were to use this on the top layer, I might see some crumbs. So I like to keep all that scrap buttercream up on the surface so that I can use it up right away. As a rule, you wouldn't want to finish a cake without some kind of a border, either crumb or some buttercream bulbs around the base. When I took off that top layer before, we put it on screens at the King Arthur Bakery, and we dry it, and then we put it in the food processor and grind it up. It's just dry chocolate cake crumbs, and we'll utilize that on the sides of the cakes. So I'm going to go under with my palette knife, lift up the cake, pick it up, and now I'm going to hold the cake right above the crumb and far from the buttercream because I don't want anything to fall into the buttercream. And I'm going to take a nice handful and just simply apply it like that. Rotate the cake, apply another handful, and just repeat that all the way around. And there we have it. It's a sweet little border. Next and last step before decoration is just to put the cake onto a board. And that's how we assemble a cake.